All right. So here's my pop culture speech that I'm doing. I promise I am actually standing up. I can actually move, but this is as far back as I can go with the camera actually adjusting to me. Set the tone. Picture it. It's the late 20s, Prohibition, Chicago. St. Valentine's Day massacre has just occurred. In 1929, President Hoover has just charged the Secretary of Treasury with shutting down Al Capone. This is early 1930s. Capone becomes public enemy number one. Elliot Ness is a prohibition officer with the Treasury Department, put in charge of bringing down public enemy number one, Al Capone. I'll be playing the role of, I'll be playing both roles because there's actually two parts in this speech. Jim Malone, which is played by Sean Connery, and Elliot Ness, which is played by Kevin Costner. I chose this one because, in all honesty, this is the epitome of, for lack of better terms, the epitome of a badass. Sean Connery is explaining to Elliot Ness after a issue where Elliot Ness had to shoot somebody. He felt guilty about having to kill someone. He's a prohibition officer, which was later rolled into the Treasury Department, which got rolled into the FBI essentially later on in our history. Elliot Ness felt bad about actually having to kill someone. Sean Connery, and they go to church. Elliot Ness wants to confess, and he's talking. He doesn't know how to do his job. He's afraid that he's going to fail with a job that he's been charged. And Sean Connery is talking to him. One of the Untouchables, who this guy is loosely based off of, is actually talking to Elliot Ness and explaining how he is to do his job that he's been charged with doing. So Elliot Ness' part is a very small role, and as a matter of fact, I'll try to go from one side of the screen to the other side of the screen just so you can see the two different people. I can't do Sean Connery's accent, which adds about 100% to this speech, but I hope you get the message across from the speech. So we're in a church. We're in front of the, I don't even know what it's called anymore, the Catholic Church, in front of where all the candles are all lit. Sean Connery and Kevin Costner are sitting in one or two pews back from the front of the altar. That's the word I was looking for. Sitting in front of the altar. Elliot Ness is thumbing through the rosary beads, and Sean Connery is trying to console him and explain to him how that he is to do his job. All right, here we go. You said you wanted to know how to get Capone. Do you really want to know how to get him? You see, what I'm saying is, are you prepared to get him? Everything within the law. Then what are you prepared to do? If you open up this ball on these people, Mr. Ness, you have to prepare to go all the way. Because they won't give up the fight until one of you is dead. I want to get Capone, and I don't know how to do it. You want to get Capone. Here's how you do it. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He puts one of yours in the hospital, you put one of his in the morgue. That's the Chicago way. That's how you get Capone. Now, do you want to do that? Are you ready to do that? I'm making a deal. Do you want this deal? I'm sworn to put this man away with any and all legal means at my disposal, and I will do so. Well, the Lord hates a coward. Nudges him, handshakes. Mr. Ness, do you know what a blood oath is? Yes. Good, because you just took one. And then it cuts to another scene, which I don't quite remember, but it was also another part where Sean Connery plays another, again, badass. Sorry for the language. Sean Connery's part in this, not only this dialogue, but the entire movie, plays a very pivotal role in this movie, as far as I'm concerned, where he is the glue that keeps Ness squared off and kept away. The reason why they're called the Untouchables is they were tried to be bought out by Al Capone. They were originally 50 men that were chosen, and Elliot Ness and the guy that plays Sean Connery, the real guy who was Sean Connery, actually whittled these people down to 11 other soldiers. I'm going to call them soldiers because I'm military and that's the way I look at this. The people he could trust. He knows they couldn't be bought out. He knows they weren't corrupt. He actually went to the academy and was picking these people straight from the academy because he knew that Capone hadn't had his fingers played in that pot yet. But because Elliot Ness was just a prohibition officer, which meant all he was doing was chasing people around for chasing their stills. He didn't know how to go after, go undercover or do wiretaps, which was the main thing that caught Al Capone. He didn't know how to do any of that stuff. He was a numbers cruncher. He was a guy who never went into the trenches. Sean Connery, on the other hand, he was the guy that played right there in the gray area. He played right there on that line. And Elliot Ness has no idea how to deal with that kind of stuff. He knows black and white right here. And Sean Connery was the yin to his yang, or whatever you want to call it, that leveled everything out and made the perfect person. Because in all honesty, after that guy was killed during the whole Prohibition area, and then once they actually caught Al Capone, he was arrested and sent to Atlanta, and then later on transferred to Alcatraz. There was nothing more for the Prohibition guys to do. They were all disbanded. The Untouchables were disbanded. There was no more need for them. They abolished Prohibition shortly thereafter. Elliot Ness got promoted to chief of, I forgot what it was, but he did racketeering. It wasn't organized crime, but it was racketeering, prostitution, number crunching, all that kind of stuff. And he ended up, after Capone was caught, he ended up not having really a focus in life. He had nowhere to go. So Sean Connery's role in this whole thing is important in that way, right, in that aspect to me, because he was the person that kept the crew glued to whatever their focus was. Once it was disbanded, it was gone. And the reason why that means a lot to me is, and I know some of you are military, you have that one person that holds that crew together. And once that person leaves, PCSs, deploys, whatever, your crew, your platoon, your squad, whatever you guys are, you're missing something. It falls apart. And that's why I feel this is important, because that there's always that one person that's been that glue that holds everything together for everything that I've been in the past 18 years of my career. So I kind of relate with him, whether I'm that person for some of the crews, which it has been, or if there's somebody who's influenced me that much that I know, hey, once that person leaves and I know he's leaving, this crew's gonna turn to crap, and I need to bounce out as quick as possible. So that's why this one was important to me. That's how I can relate to him, and that's why this one's important. Whether you've all watched Untouchables or not, I won't really consider it a pop culture, but that's the reason why I chose it. All right, thank you.